we have some people saying, well, it's not that serious. I mean, a half a degree over a decade, I mean, this isn't anything to worry about. But what about if we said it was 7 degrees by the turn of the century in BC winter, or a similar number in the north, and that the entire permafrost was going to thaw and all the methane that's captured in there is going to be released into the atmosphere? Maybe that would worry some people. Or what about if we said that by the year 2100, given the current projections, the boreal forest will have to move about 500 kilometers to the north, maybe even more. And short of their developing an ability to move forests that far and that fast, it essentially means the end of a huge ecosystem. These kinds of things, I think, respond to that claim that it's not really serious. Well, then there's another reaction, and we get this a lot these days on environmental questions. There's nothing we can do. What can we do? These things are larger than we are, so let's just carry on and ignore it. Well, as it happens, there is a great deal we can do, and that's what the FCM is promoting and is ready to help you to do in your communities. And in fact, we're really the only ones that can do it, the local communities. And of course, there is another solution, another reaction you sometimes get, which is that, well, somebody else is going to figure out a solution to this problem someday, aren't they? It's not me who has to do this. It'll be a technical person. It'll be some scientist somewhere. They'll come up with a vaccine against global warming, won't they? Or they'll invent a new kind of motor that doesn't pollute. And of course, some of these things are actually happening in a small way, but it turns out that most of what can be done is very ordinary. And actually presents us with some real wonderful opportunities in our communities. Just before I move into some of those, so I'd like to show a slide of which the insurance industry helped us to produce. And this is why they've suddenly taken an interest in the issue. These are the natural catastrophe losses worldwide over the last little while, and then natural catastrophes in Canada. And I don't believe that includes the most recent flooding either. But the insurance industry has become completely convinced that climate variability caused by greenhouse gases is going to bankrupt the industry and is going to make it impossible to insure the things that we want to be able to insure. And imagine a world where insurance for your property, for loss of income, for the various things that can happen in a catastrophe was simply not available. This would be a very difficult world, and the insurance industry, in their gray suits and in their very conservative way, are telling us that this is what the future holds if we don't take action. And frankly, that's good news, because it now means a major Canadian industrial sector is weighing in on the side of finding some solutions. And that's, I think, going to change the dynamic, and it's only happened in the last year. So I think we'll be able to form some partnerships with some of these firms. We simply have to get every community in this country involved in helping to reduce greenhouse gas emissions if we're going to accomplish what we need to accomplish. And we are the second highest producers of greenhouse gases in the world on a per capita basis. So even though we're a small country, we've got a lot to prove when it comes to reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Of course, by the way, that also gives us a chance to develop something new that could become an export industry for us, namely knowledge about how to do things right when it comes to energy and climate. Well, here's a few initiatives that we'll just give you as by way of an example. In Metro Toronto, of course, we have a lot of garbage. Most of you knew that already. But this garbage, now we're moving towards 3Rs and composting and a lot of other initiatives now, but over the years some very large landfill sites have filled up with a very large amount of methane, and they're going to continue to produce that methane. And frankly, that methane up until recently was just leaking out into the atmosphere, and it's a very dangerous greenhouse gas. So recently we've started a program to capture that gas and turn it into electricity, which then means that we don't have to buy as much coal from the Midwest of the United States, for example, to produce electricity in Toronto. So it's reducing pollution, it's saving us money because we already have this gas, it's our own natural gas supply. And looking at Ottawa, Ottawa is one of many cities that has begun to do some terrific things around building efficiency. They've gone in and retrofitted buildings and saved themselves a lot of money. In fact, building retrofits almost always is going to save you money, create jobs, and do good things for the environment all at once. How many of you remember when, if you'd asked somebody to name a program that would save the government money, be good for the environment, and create jobs, they would have laughed at you. They would have said, those are three contradictory propositions. But now it turns out there's many areas where this, in fact, can happen. In Toronto, they've taken it one step further with something called the Better Buildings Partnership. In this one, they've developed a plan not just to have municipal buildings retrofitted, but to have every building in the entire city, every house, every office, every factory retrofitted without putting municipal dollars in, saving all the building owners money, creating thousands of jobs, and ultimately saving the city, all the citizens of the city, $750 million a year in energy purchases from elsewhere. So it's a very powerful program and very exciting, and I think it's the only city in the world that is doing a comprehensive retrofit from one end to the other, and we have information about that if you want to be in touch. Vancouver has really promoted cycling, although I have to give Ottawa a lot of credit there. In fact, many of our cities now are developing cycling and walking strategies, and you may have heard Mayor Barbara Hall talk about how locating housing close to offices downtown is really increased the number of people who are walking to work, and every time that happens, it's one less car that has to be churning out the CO2. So these are just some of the examples. There are literally dozens and dozens of them, and your municipality becoming a member of the 20% Club would get you access to all of those ideas, and you could be in touch with the cities directly to talk about how you could implement them, and you can get exchanges going. I mean, everybody's very keen on helping transfer this knowledge. I would only close by saying this, that we are looking at a Great Lakes level dropping of about 1.5 meters. The total infrastructure costs of that by the middle of the next century are in the hundreds of millions of dollars. We are looking in our coastal cities of a sea level rise of somewhere approaching 1 meter. The costs associated with that are huge, with the additional diking and so on that would have to be done. This is a worldwide phenomenon that's going to have massive impacts on all of us, and it turns out that we, in the municipal level, are making the decisions that can either slow down climate change dramatically or not. If we don't respond, we're in for big trouble. Maybe not you and I, but our kids. And we have an obligation to do what we can for them. Thank you very much.